Captain, incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind. Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Not a great plan.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hey there, we're Those Sci-Fi Guys, and this is that Those Sci-Fi Guys show. Just two working dudes, different lives, different jobs, and a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts. I am P.S. McKay, coming off from a very humbling yet loving experience with the crossover with These Sci-Fi Guys.
And I'm DT Cavman, and I very much enjoyed the crossover. And two-time champ.
Yeah. Can you just throw one for once? Can you just maybe pull a couple punches? Just hold them back a little bit, man.
Dude,
I know.
I saw like literally maybe 10% of the stuff they've actually threw out there.
That's probably the most insulting part. You guessed a lot of those answers.
Educated
guessing. I did too. But most of my guesses were wrong. So, they're not going to invite us back if we keep doing this and you keep doing that. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But they have their act together, man. That's why I said humbling experience. Technically, like we've got our groove technologically and everything going.
We've really hit a higher. We've cranked it into a higher gear this year, man.
We have, but
we have
talking
absolutely nothing to be ashamed of.
Production wise, I mean, being able to throw in the interstitials and the things like that, which, we figured out how Skype works and this is how we use it. We need to go to a different program. We need to. We absolutely need to, but the problem is we're so comfortable now. It's just easier right now to stay here rather than to take the growing pains for the next couple episodes, where one or two of them might accidentally not be recorded somehow, the Western episode, but it still sits there on my account mocking me.
Yeah, I know. We lost an entire episode. We could be an entire episode farther down the line because of this.
Yeah.
Granted, that would be the second time we lost an episode. So.
Oh, yeah, the first time I didn't hit record.
Yes.
Was that after a vacation or was that after Christmas? I think it was after like a long time off.
Yeah, it definitely was that. So, who knows?
Yeah. So, anyway, I had a lot of fun.
By the way,
making a fool of myself.
What on the crossover?
On the crossover, yeah.
They're fun, man. I mean, you start to also see the depth of people's where their sci-fi pull is from. Those guys do seem to enjoy a decent amount of anime. So. Yeah,
and you and I don't come from that background. We have a very similar well to pull from, whereas they've got their own well, which is nice, and it's fun to talk with them about that stuff. Because it's quietly reminds me, oh yeah, there's a lot more that I don't know.
And that's fine. That we bring different things to the table, which is good.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
I did like the Babylon 5 getting a ton of love on this episode during the draft.
Yeah, that was good. The Vorlon ship, I chose the Vorlon fighter, which, that's
very
just
nice.
Almost unparalleled. You can't really compare the Vorlons with Star Trek. It's interesting. Although it feels like those aliens, those older ones, they're like so super powered they shouldn't even need ships. Like, what do they do? Where do they go? Like, they need ships if they're like billions of years old. Like, at that point, you would think that they would just figure out some higher plane of existence thought, which they kind of are halfway there. We got to talk about Babylon 5 at some, because I gotta finish the season. I'm in the middle of season 4. I know, but that's just my impression. It feels like the first ones are a little too rudimentary still when we get to the Shadow War, and it, even though they're super powered, don't get me wrong, just feels like they're not gods yet. And that's not necessarily the direction any intelligent species should go necessarily, but you know, that's my thought. Anyway, yeah, that being said, we had a great time with these sci-fi guys. I like hanging out with them. It's fun how we could just make friends through the internet. Never met them in person, and yet I consider them friends, and it's nice. It's a nice weird world we live in.
Well, we had 2 big crossovers with all 5 of us on, and then Dave guest starred on us for the Stargate episode, and then you went on their Wrath of Khan episode. So
yeah,
we've kept the balance. It is even right now.
I can't help but feel guilty for being the reason why that Wrath of Khan episode ran long, but I know it was my fault. I can't
imagine how much longer the next one will be when they reformat.
I know, right? Wait, what do you mean we're reformat?
Not us, them. Remember?
Oh yeah, well yes. Yeah, they have some plans. We can't really. That's not our show. So.
I'll retool you.
They have plans. Okay, so. We have plans too. Exciting future ahead of us. As I like to say, I think the future is very bright right now, and our subject matter for this evening is quite the opposite. So,
yes, not
depending
fun.
on how you look at it, as my AI created picture, I'll get a new one up in a moment. DT, don't worry. As my AI created picture. Demonstrates here. So, what are we here to discuss today, sir?
Well, this was a topic I think that kind of came up over the dinner table, and Mrs. Cadman suggested, she asked if we had talked about AI, and we hadn't as a full episode. And with so many things going on, like YouTube is just rife with AI videos, so much so that even sites that I've gone to in years past, I'm like, is this AI? Now, is it AI? I don't know. I don't know
like
anymore.
When you see something. It does involve a certain level of extra vigilance now, because you see some things. I'm not going to describe a lot of this, but you'll see some clips on the internet. You probably haven't. Your use of the internet is very different than mine. Mine's a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. But you see like pictures suddenly animated, where like there's a picture of the cast of Wicked, the 2 main cast members. It's a nice picture, and then they have AI generated into them fighting. Like they use a stationary picture, and AI is able to turn it into them fighting for 5 seconds, and then the clip stops. It's not perfect, but at first it's jarring, like it's scary. Like whoa, they did that, and then oh wait, and then it distorts the longer it plays. It was not a tasteful video. I must be very clear about this. But yeah. And then we have Sora, which now is active. I told you a little bit about Sora
to the group.
Okay, so Sora is the entire reason why oh shoot, who's the guy that plays Medea? What's his name? Something Perry.
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry, thank you. No disrespect. I blank on names all the time. Tyler Perry had an $800 million plan to develop a massive studio compound in Georgia. He was invited to meet with the makers of the AI video generator Sora, S-O-R-A. He saw the stuff that Sora was making. And walking out of that, he goes, no, I'm not doing this $800 million studio anymore. I'll be able to do studio grade movies using Sora, and I won't need all this computer farming power of my own making. I can just use Sora to do that.
Ooh.
Yeah. So let me show you Sora.
That almost sounds bad, like the things that the strikes were over.
Oh, it totally was. And the strikes actually screwed all of them over. Let's see.
Screwed over who?
The writers and the tech people. Completely. These are all AI generated videos through Sora. You see this? Look at this. This fish, this woman, she doesn't exist. That cityscape doesn't exist.
Well, I knew
That
the
popcorn?
cityscape didn't exist.
I'm going to scroll down a little bit. That doesn't exist. This eye,
Oh,
look at this
yeah.
eye. That's AI.
There's some
That's
uncanny
fun.
valley in the background of that following the car. Some of these aren't. You can
Oh,
tell
yeah.
that they're not.
Don't get me wrong. But look at this. This is photorealistic stuff.
What the
And yes,
hell
there's
is going
absolutely-
on underneath that bridge? Are those supposed to be whales?
No, that's a volcano.
No,
clouds
in
and-
in the water.
Oh, in the water. The
Christmas.
actual... Yeah, those are whales. Those
Nope.
are orcas.
Nope.
What do you mean, nope?
The size is too big at that distance. It wouldn't know. It's
Okay, DT, seriously, step back for a second.
no.
This is not a perfect technology, okay? But this is the direction things are going. And the fact that it is so photorealistic in and of itself is astonishing. Can you not at least like step back and say that? Like, think about this. This is what I used to fantasize about making videos with you. I told you I wanted to have a program like this when I was in 6th grade. You remember that conversation?
No.
You don't. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. The ferns and that's insane. I mean, so this is Sora. This is what made Tyler Perry cancel an $800 million studio project, which would have been very beneficial for the local economy, by the way. Look at that.
Wow.
boat.
So you're saying is Tyler Perry's a bastard?
No, I'm not. He made a shrewd business decision that was necessary because this is the direction technology is going. Oh, can I log in? Oh,
Please
shoot.
don't.
Can I sign up?
On your own
Sign
time.
up. Stop it. I know it's on my own time. So anyway, that's what we got there.
Jeez.
So we've got this. Have you used? I've used AI to formulate some pictures previously of our thumbnails for those sci-fi guys. Not these. Damn it! I'm going to be doing that all night now. But like
Every
this photo
time
of
you
this
say
this
these
android.
sci-fi guys, when you don't refer to them, drink.
Yeah, it'll only make it worse too. But this picture of this android was artificially generated. What was the other one? Is this no? Not all the Christmas carols. It was. Oh yeah, here we go. Cooking with Deadpool and Wolverine. Delightfully putting together a salad. Look at how nice that is. Isn't that nice? But that was all AI.
I would, but you're not pulling it up.
Oh, you don't see it? Oh,
Nope.
damn. Okay.
I'm still looking at creepy face here.
I'll do that. Switch window. There you go. So that's the uncropped version too. So You see like all the food that was generated here and whatnot.
Mm.
But
what are those? Are those supposed to be wings?
I don't know. I have no idea. And you'll get weird things like that when you do AI pictures. I mean, you have to be more specific and stuff like that. And that's the fun part. You can actually do AI instructions. Ask AI to give you instructions on how to give a prompt for an AI generation picture. Which sounds weird. I know, but it's happened. So I'm going to see if I can switch. Can I switch back to Robbie the robot? And I will get a new photo for you, DT, coming up in a second. But I'm leading the discussion right now. So have you had any experience in using AI?
No.
None. You haven't tried it. You haven't experimented. Nothing.
Well, why?
By the way, your microphone sounds a little soft.
Okie dokie. I can check.
That's better. Yeah, that's better. That's weird. I don't know. I think it's my system.
I think it is your system.
Apologies. Anyway, I interrupted you. Please continue.
I mean, I can't say that. I mean, sure, I've used. Oh, crap. Apologies, everyone. Was not my correct microphone.
Oh, it wasn't. There we go.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Well, what I can say is I've not like gone and Googled like and had AI write me anything or put in anything. I haven't played with that. I mean, sure, I've used things like Siri and Alexa and other sorts of events. And I had to whisper the one because it would have set off the dot in my.
Mm-hmm. No, believe me, I know that one. Trust me.
I mean, did you hear about? So there's a. I think it was 2 years ago. There's a baseball player who then played for the Tampa Bay Rays, whose last name is Siri. And the broadcaster from the Red Sox, the radio broadcaster, Joe Castiglione, he was live on air, was, calling a play, and he used this player's name and his phone went off live on the air. Of course, led to all sorts of jokes and everything going on, but
there was a South Park episode. This was like right when Siri and Alexa came out, and I think OK Google, no, their thing came out, and South Park did a whole episode where there was a whole scene where Cartman was surrounded by all the different products, the speakers and stuff from all those different things.
Sure.
And he said, "Hey Siri, order me this. Hey, okay Google, order me this." And there were loads of complaints sent to Comedy Central because people who were watching that episode triggered their smart device to order what was instructed by Eric Cartman. Like, and that the writers trolled intentionally to do that.
Of course,
which is hilarious. That was a neat thing. So, I guess I'm not seeing any green peppers here. That's weird. I'm trying to order dinner for the family while I'm sitting here doing this. I know I can multitask. No, I can't.
Okay, so no, not really. I mean, like I said, now everything has it. Facebook has the Meta, where you can ask them. There's almost everything has its own, like, pseudo artificial intelligence. A lot of these apps now do. I know someone was telling me Snapchat has an app or has its
Messenger.
own.
Messenger has a thing too.
Meta.
Like if you take Meta, you can use it to if you take a picture of your family and you put in instructions, you put the photo in there, give Meta instructions, give it a Christmas background, it will do it. And it'll look good. Like real good. Like
Look, I know.
You believe me?
I've been playing around with, you know, features on my new smartphone, looking at some older pictures and using the edit factor where you can like remove people from your background of your pictures and trying to remaster some older pictures and whatnot. And it works, not quite the way they make it look like on TV, but it's pretty good. I'll say this. I'm exposed to AI pretty regularly. You go onto YouTube, Facebook Reels, the TikTok videos that they feed over. It's so many of them are now narrated or generated by AI.
The
Have you?
Coca-Cola Christmas commercial, that's all AI generated.
I know it's a little creepy.
Looks gross, right? Because we know it's
Yeah.
AI, so we're repulsed by it.
Well, part of it too is like, people strive to do these things, and now, like there's still some uncanny valley to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But here's
And
the
it's
thing,
only going to
right?
get better.
So, there's been a big fight, and in a lot of states people have been pressuring legislatures to limit what AI can do, because they're worried about impacting people's jobs and whatnot. But the entertainment industry has been taking stands on it. That was one of the reasons the actors joined the strike. People talking about being digitally edited into movies or anything like that. In perpetuity, Robert Downey Jr. basically said, "I will sue from beyond the grave if you guys do this without permission from my estate."
Right.
Uh,
And I respect that, because I think we need that. It fosters new growth, new innovation.
Well, he's also got the juice to do that right now.
Right.
But so here's another interesting argument. So, oh God, it must have been 10 years ago, maybe longer. Country singer Randy Travis had a stroke. Now he's alive, but he can't really speak very much.
Yes.
And he can't sing anymore. And then this past year,
didn't he sing Best of Intentions?
Travis Tritt, I think, sang that.
Oh, that was Travis Tritt. You're right. I'm sorry.
Randy Travis, he and his, people, got together with this AI or with this company, and they generated a song based on all of his recordings, and they released it. And when it dropped, a lot of people were like, was this just like a previously unreleased song?
It sounded good.
Did he make like a 100% recovery? Which you would have thought you would have heard something about. But it was very fascinating. And it really kind of blew your mind a little. Okay, here we are. Where that came from. Now, it's a song that was written by an actual person, Scotty Emmerich, who was well known.
I think I can play it. I'll look
for
being
one of being a good buddy of Toby Keith,
what was
one
it
of
called
his
again?
songwriters. Where that came from.
Where that came from.
Yes. It was released in May of 2024, served as the newest recording in over a decade, developed through the use of artificial intelligence software to recreate his vocals following a series of strokes and health issues that left him unable to sing. And they overlaid it over a vocal bed of an existing 2011 recording of the song from a collaborator of Randy Travis.
Okay. Well, here's what we got here. This is all AI generated, by the way. I mean, I think the music itself was real. The track itself, the music track is real. It's the voice. So here we go. And this is with Randy Travis's blessing. I'm gonna hit this, and that's gonna cut there. Hold on, and here we go. Sorry. Volume's a little loud. There we go. A little bit of a head in there. Here we go.
She had eyes like diamonds.
That sounds just like.
Oh, but they were dark and deeper than the night. But when she'd smile, out came the sun. And there ain't no more where that came from.
I mean, it sounds just like him.
Yeah.
If you'll
That's really
pause,
good.
please.
Yep.
So, you know, he was basically, you know, rendered mute for a long period of time, vision issues. You know, he started being able to, you know, he was relearning how to walk and write and tried to learn to play the guitar. But there was some conversations in 2023 about protecting artists' rights. So Warner Music Nashville thought that there were ways that that artificial intelligence could do some good, and they thought of Randy Travis. Maybe they could use it to give Randy his voice back. So this song was a ballad written by Scotty Emmerich and John Scott Sherrill. And one of Randy Travis's producers developed a vocal track from an original recording done by a vocalist and frequent touring partner of Randy Travis, James Dupree. They worked on it for months, perfecting it. And then from the AI model rendering, they worked with 2 different proprietary AI models that utilized vocal notes and samples from, you know, a 20, almost 30-year career leading from the early 80s into the early 2010s. And even though Mr. Dupree had originally recorded a vocal track in 2011, they did do an arrangement with this gentleman to be able to use him to kind of help base the song. So, but Randy Travis, he and his family and their representatives were all on board with this. And apparently, his family were like moved to tears after hearing it the first time.
Yeah, it's insane.
So.
I mean, and this is an example of AI done right. You know, by the original artist and everything. You know, it's just, I mean, how different is it to use AI to help an artist sing again, from being able to use a neural link to be able to reestablish the neural pathways from the brain to the lower spine.
And wouldn't that be fascinating?
Right.
But then you also have, you know, examples of, you know, AI being used, people using AI to, like, spam calls, record your voice.
Mm-hmm.
To be used to hack real people and.
Well, they're already doing that with like YouTube advertisements. They're already doing that. So they're using AI versions of like Sylvester Stallone, Joe Rogan, Scarlett Johansson. For those weird like advertisements on YouTube that are trying to hawk some kind of bogus product. Like it's weird, it's gross, and you see it with other things too, without celebrities, but still.
Now, have you heard of the? I guess they're calling it like the granny AI that people are using to deal with like telemarketers and like people trying to swindle the elderly.
Well, that's been around since forever, but I don't know about the granny AI.
It's a counter. It's a countermeasure.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought it was an AI that was like trying to swindle old folk.
Daisy, the AI granny. This was an article from a couple of days ago. A phone company developed an AI granny to beat scammers at their own game. British mobile company O2 has developed a new creation, Daisy, a chit-chat and kitty cat loving artificial intelligence granny who talks to scammers to keep them away from real people.
That's nice. That's ingenious, actually. I like that. That's outside the box thinking. That's good. Those are good applications. No, I haven't heard of that, but I like that and I appreciate it. So okay, so your exposure to AI has been rather limited to basically Siri or OK Google or whatever, right? And I think most people have been introduced to AI through that. I have Apple Intelligence now on my iPhone 15. It sucks, by the way. It's terrible. It's just awful.
All I know is you've got a 15. I've got a 24. I'm just saying. Who's more advanced?
Well, yeah, my phone's a year old. You just got that damn thing. So, and I'm going to be keeping this for at least another 3 years. So how dare you, sir? As long as it doesn't get broken. I kept my iPhone 12 for 3 years. And the only reason why I kept it for 3 years instead of 4, because it fell and the whole back like just broke and the response time and the sound wasn't as good anymore. So
look, the fact of the matter is these phones are practically obsolete as soon as you take them out of the store.
That's the exact
just
truth.
Like cars. It's
the exact truth. You were absolutely correct. I have an 08 Nissan Frontier, and we have a 22 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and that thing is like a spaceship compared to what I have in my truck. Get cameras everywhere, sensors everywhere. You can see, you could look down upon the car and everything. That's a whole other thing. But yeah.
Well,
anyway,
hey,
that being said,
remember a couple of years ago, they made a big deal out of it because it was the John Krasinski, Chris Evans, and Rachel Dratch. It's the Nissan, the Hyundai with the Smart Park, or was it a Hyundai?
I think so. Yeah.
The Smart Park.
Smart Pack.
But that's like some rudimentary style AI.
Oh well, it totally is. Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. It's Hyundai. You are absolutely correct.
If you're trying to put it up on the screen, you failed.
I will.
Rachel, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
He's not getting that car in there.
No.
Look at these two troublemakers.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car. Is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me pack it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Let me pack it.
Stop being a smarty pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Pack.
Smart Pack?
Just hit the clicker. Car packs itself.
It's smart.
It's wicked smart. And I can pack it anywhere.
How about Dorchester?
Packed it.
Foxborough.
Packed it.
The Garden?
Packed it.
Saugus?
Packed it.
Swampscott?
Revere?
The Harbor?
Are you kidding me? I packed it and then unpacked it.
You unparked it?
Kid.
Game changer.
That Sonata ain't got no driver.
That's all right. He's got Smart Pack.
Hey, you can back there.
He's got Smart Pack.
Hey, whoa, it's Big Poppy. Wicked smart.
This is a ghost
Wicked
car.
smart.
A better way to park. Only available on the all-new Sonata with remote smart parking assist.
Sorry about that, your bigness.
What you
guys know he lived there? I had no idea.
You
Yeah.
bigness.
Anyway, so.
Oh my God, I laughed so hard when I
natives
saw that.
or
I
Massachusetts
laughed so
natives.
hard.
Yeah.
Is
That was a
Rachel
good
Dratch
commercial.
really a Boston native?
I kind of want to say yes because they're huge New England fans.
Well, remember it was her and Jimmy Fallon doing those Boston teens, but he's not from up here.
Graduated from Dartmouth College. Rachel Dratch did. And let's see, born in Lexington, Massachusetts. She's as Boston as it gets. So yeah.
Oh, whoa. Lexington is not Boston.
Oh, come on. That's where the revolution started.
Well, that's true.
That's where the fighting started, man.
I know. I was up there this summer.
Yeah, as a history aficionado yourself.
And then I went to a High Kings concert, so boom.
Yeah. So okay. I want to delve a little bit more into our experiences with AI, and then we want to go into instances with sci-fi AI because
I think I'm good with real life because there's just so much that we can go on in sci-fi.
We don't need to go too depth into the sci-fi examples, but we can talk about the good, the bad, and we have to discuss where we think this is going because I do want to talk about. We've been discussing it. I know, but I want to talk about what Elon Musk said about the development of AI, and I think it's important. Love him or hate him, he is an entrepreneur.
Then
that being said, I had a friend.
Get cracking.
Stop it! This is our show. You just said you don't want to go through sci-fi stuff, and I'm like, well, we should. And now you're like,
no,
well,
I said I wanted to get to the sci-fi.
God, you want me to rush it now?
Yeah.
Shit.
Because we got to avoid the Russians.
Oh God. Sometimes it hurts. Anyway, that being said, so I have a friend who, who's writing a book, and I read what he's had so far. I find it very compelling. It's very well done. It's a murder mystery. Not going to go too far into it because you want to respect the process, right? So what he did was he texted me late in November going, I tried something and I need your opinion on this. He had a different way to say it. But he used Google's Gemini. See, that's a whole other AI we haven't even talked about. He used Google's Gemini to take a look at what he's written so far for his book and to get some feedback on it. So this is what it wrote. So he said, I fed it my book to the thing. I didn't even ask for anything, and it was like, bro, this is good, but it also sucks. Do better, but keep doing. So
who is he? Star-Lord?
This is where it keeps going. He quoted, "This is a great start to your novel. You've successfully created a captivating and suspenseful atmosphere. Here are some things I enjoyed. Intriguing premise. The details you provide about the killer's methods are both disturbing and fascinating. Compelling characters. The sheriff is relatable and sympathetic protagonist. His internal struggles and dedication to his job make him a character readers can root for." Think about this. This is AI writing this. Vivid descriptions. You paint a clear picture and setting of the characters. Show, don't tell. While your descriptions are vivid, there are instances where you could show the reader more. This is this part where he says, here are some suggestions for improvement. There are instances where you could show the reader more instead of telling them. For example, instead of saying this person is tired, describe the physical actions and thoughts that convey as exhaustion. Think about that. That's AI, okay? So,
no, it actually sounds a lot like a conversation I had with my wife when she was critiquing a book she was reading.
Right.
Sounds like somebody's just been listening into my wife's literary critiques.
So I fed my book, my entire book, Hey Stranger, to Gemini, and it fizzled out because it said it was too big, which, you know, I'm not going to argue with that. But what I did do, so I copied and pasted my entire manuscript into Gemini to get feedback for it. But it was too long of a manuscript, so it couldn't do it. It would need to do it in smaller instances.
I understand. So that's how Stephen King can keep writing.
Maybe.
But this is what this is how Nicholas Sparks keeps churning out books.
At this point, yeah, because Jesus, how can someone be so romantic? God dang, dude.
He uses the same premise.
Well, I mean, the dude in the book usually is always the one that's never gonna see the end of the book. That's for sure. There are exceptions, but
look,
that they might as well
be
be wearing a red shirt.
Artist with having, some tells. I mean, I loved Louis L'Amour books, still do, but a lot of his heroes have a lot of the same makeup, we'll call it.
Yeah. Well, Dan Brown, same thing. Dan Brown wrote the Da Vinci Code. He wrote Angels and Demons, which was actually written first, and then the Da Vinci Code was the sequel.
Really liked Angels and Demons.
They were the same book. And then I read another book of his about, AI, artificial intelligence. It was the same damn book. It was a chase book, with the timing thing. He would go place to place to place, and he would always just be one step behind. Dan Brown puts a lot of research into things, just like Michael Crichton does. But unlike Michael Crichton, Dan Brown can't have a diverse plot structure. He has to follow the same paint by numbers thing. He has good points in his book. And believe me, I would kill to be as successful as Dan Brown was or is. Trust me. But
I read Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code on my first tour in Iraq. A friend of mine.
Didn't it change the way you looked at things? Angels and Demons, man. Kind of blew your mind, didn't it?
I liked Angels and Demons, I think, more because
I did too.
It dove into the teeth of the Vatican, which was interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree, and I didn't realize
still love
that there
the Da Vinci Code.
And I didn't realize that there was like a whole thing that St. Peter is literally buried underneath the Vatican. I had no idea that is a real thing. I had no idea. I know St. Peter's Basilica. I know. Call me a bad Catholic. Trust me. I get it. Okay? I understand. I own it. But it blew my mind that literally his tomb is underneath the Vatican. That's crazy. That's crazy. Blows my mind.
Peter, you will be the rock I build my church upon.
The man who rebuked Jesus 3 times we know where his body is. I mean, can we get some DNA like off of that? Can we? It
was really just come on, come on, come on. Okay.
But I mean, literally, the very person in that story, which feels mythical with the way it's portrayed to us when we're growing up as children and everything, even though it's meant as like a real story. And he's there. He lived. It blew my mind when I learned this. That's the only thing I'm conveying. Anyway, that being said, I decided, well, if it's not going to read my book, I'm going to go ahead and. I was not valedictorian when I graduated high school, but I won the speech contest to be able to give a speech at graduation, a la summa cum laude. I didn't win the thing, but I got second place. So I read my speech as a summa cum laude thing.
So did you input that speech into this?
I did. I totally did.
Okay.
I'm going to read it real fast. Not the speech. The speech was about the hardest, it's about making what?
Yeah, right. No, I mean the point is like, what was the feedback?
Right. So I'm just going to give you a quick premise of what the speech was, and then I'm going to tell you what the feedback was. So I talked about how we need to take our next steps, and the hardest part to write is the first chapter of your book. Like you need to set things up and do that, and then we need to figure out the plot of our lives, yada yada. And and my big thing was turn the page, and then we have our children. Turn the page. We already got married, but those things. So here's the strengths on this one. It said inspiring. All right. It said, inspiring tone. The speech effectively uses a hopeful and encouraging tone, motivating the graduates to embrace the future. Strong imagery. The author employs vivid imagery, such as comparing life to a book to create a compelling narrative. Relatable themes. The themes of personal growth, ambition, and an unknown future resonate with the audience. Call to action. This is all AI, by the way. The speech encourages the graduates to take control of their lives and write their own stories. Now we get to the areas of improvement. Overuse of metaphor. While the book metaphor is effective, overusing it can be repetitive. A more balanced approach would be to use it selectively. Pacing. The speech could benefit from a more varied pace. While the opening is strong, the middle section could be tightened to maintain momentum. Just like what I'm doing right now. Specificity. While the general themes are inspiring, more specific examples or anecdotes could strengthen the impact. For instance, highlighting a particular challenge or success story of a classmate could add a personal touch. By the way, that wouldn't have worked because I was being all rhetorical. I wasn't being specific to a specific person. But that's what AI is.
AI doesn't deal with rhetoric very well.
Exactly. But that's AI, right? That's why you can't trust it completely. Conciseness. Some parts of the speech could be more concise. Eliminating redundant phrases or sentences would improve the overall flow. I used turn the page as a rhetorical device on numerous instances. So that's what that was. Suggestions. Vary the sentence structure. Using a mix of short and long sentences can enhance the rhythm and impact the speech. Utilize strong verbs. So I used some passive verbs, apparently. Strong verbs can make the speech more dynamic and engaging. Consider the audience. Tailor this. It's almost done. Tailor the speech.
If the critique is longer than the speech.
I know, right?
No.
I know. It's almost done. It's almost done. Tailor the speech to a specific audience. For example, if the audience is diverse, consider including references to different cultures or backgrounds. I referenced the Russians. I said the Russians were first in space. I said Yuri Gagarin and Alan Shepard, but that wasn't diverse enough. Okay. Practice, and by the way, that's Google for you. Like, that's Gemini. Practice and time the speech. Rehearsing the speech.
Now, if it had been named Apollo, it would have been more American focused.
I know, right? Overall, the speech is a solid effort that effectively conveys a message of hope and inspiration. By addressing the areas for improvement, the speech can be even more powerful and memorable. And I look at that, I'm like, well, I'll just take it as it is. That was a pretty good review. And your efforts for improvement are bad. So, but that was a fun little exercise. So if I might suggest, whatever writing you might have, sir, throw it into ChatGPT and ask it, and I can give you a prompt of for try it. Just try it for fun. That's the best part. It's not a human, so it doesn't feel personal. It doesn't feel personal.
No, when I need something reviewed, I give it to the best reviewer I know.
I know. Your wife, yeah, and she's really good. She's really good. Actually, I should ask her.
A journalist from over a decade and an avid reader.
Maybe I should ask her if she's willing to edit my next book.
She would be honored. The
problem is she probably hates my current one.
If she had even read it, she might. I don't know.
Let's just assume she did. I'm kidding. I'm not putting any pressure on that. Don't worry. That's a silly thing. Stepping aside. Yes, your wife is a very valuable resource for that. Now, God, there was one other thing I wanted to point out. Oh, has your daughter mentioned what her school uses to investigate and detect if AI has been used on papers?
That has not come up at all.
Really? Because my son and my daughter have both been told that they have tools at the school to detect if AI was used to write your papers.
I mean, they've had tools that they've used for 20 years to do like online searches to look for plagiarism. It's just a step further along.
It is. It's crazy to think that, by the way. And I'm not going to lie, the statute of limitations is up. I have recycled a couple papers from my high schools. Like I wrote a couple papers in my first high school that you and I went to. And then when I went to my second high school, I reused a couple of those papers.
I used a
they were mine.
Right. I used a writing prompt to build a larger paper. It was like a short, like, I don't know, 200-word essay that I used, and I used it as a cornerstone for a later writing assignment for a different class. Mm-hmm. And I beefed it out to like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 pages. But the framework was there. It required more in depth. You know, I was actually, it's not really plagiarizing if you do it to yourself.
Well, that's it.
Just
that's
look at Dan Brown.
That's how I justified it. Yeah, Dan Brown. Seriously.
All right, take this for example. The 2 most popular of the Christmas or of the vacation movies, you know, National Lampoon's Vacation and Christmas Vacation, were both based on short stories that the author had written in, you know, about like fictionalized versions of his childhood, you know, that were published. So it's John Hughes wrote stories in the National Lampoon. One was Vacation 58 and Christmas 59 or something like that. And these were like short stories. And then they were fleshed out. It's almost like anytime you like, you know, turn a small thing into a bigger project or something, you know. That's where I go with that when it comes to, you know, like using, you know, ideas that you have, you know, previously put down and blown up.
Sure.
So,
well,
but
I think prompts are fine. I mean that because it'll stir inspiration as long as the actual words come from you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
look, I get it. We want our people to be able to write for themselves.
We need our people to write for themselves.
We do, which is why the obsession with using AI for things is a very slippery slope, at least in my opinion. I mean, we went from having a picture that you pulled up of a very almost, you know, kind of human-like AI that was a little creepy to a nightmare fuel cartoon robot with a very sadistic looking smile.
I know. I said to make it less creepy, so here's what this is what came up next. That one. So it's less creepy. I got another one for you. Don't worry. But this is all AI. The last one, this one, and the next one I just generated in the last 20 minutes while we were recording. So, but that's how quick it is. Look at that shirt.
I mean,
look at the
shit,
wrinkles
that
on
looks
that
like
shirt.
something.
Jesus,
that looks like something that should have come out in like the early '90s.
I know. There was a
You
robot
are my
that kind of
friend.
looks like that. So my children have been notified that if they use AI, it's an immediate F and something along a sanction of some sort, because it's academic. It's a break in academic integrity and whatnot. So I'm fine with that. I think it's necessary because and I can understand, because there's a fine line between, and here's the philosophical rub, and I wanna run this by you, and then I want to talk about what Elon Musk was saying.
Dude, we've already blown past where I wanted to stop on the real world.
You just wanted you originally told me you wanted to do the whole thing.
No, we're too bogged down.
Well, there's a lot to say, so let's just do this real fast. What's the difference between using AI to help you write a paper versus using AI to create a picture when you're not an artist, like a picture artist, versus using AI to create a video when you are a videographer? Like, is there a difference there? I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't think there's a true answer to it, but everyone
I guess
can
if
write.
if you're trying to claim it as yours.
And I'm never
Well,
going to
I
claim
wrote
these pictures as my genius, by the way. I mean, anyone can use them, whatever. What the hell? I mean, I don't have that same kind of
right.
authorship.
I mean, when you have proprietary information or you're doing things to test your, there were people are trying to, test your ability to write and think and whatnot. It's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, it can be used for so much good, like in the case in point of helping somebody who can no longer really speak. An artist regain their voice is one thing, but then you also have people trying to just generate reports so they don't have to do a fucking homework assignment.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct.
Science fiction has been warning us of this shit for a long time.
Well, and that's the thing, and this is going to dovetail pretty well in this, because let's see.
I'm going to just jump right into it, okay?
Well,
we have so many examples, and almost all of them are negative, of AI going berserk and killing us all. Because we have a tendency to create our own monsters. It goes almost back to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's not quite, I mean, in many ways, that is a very different version of an artificial intelligence. But, reanimation and whatnot, and, the monster eventually rises and kills the creator. And that story, I think, influences a lot of modern science fiction where we use artificial intelligence, artificial life forms, either, mechanical, robotic androids, sometimes genetically engineered, but it all kind of falls under the playing God scenario.
Yes, and
humanity being punished for its own hubris.
And that is a very good lesson to learn, because basically it's trying to tell humanity, hey, don't get bigger than your britches, which is fine. Don't do genetic engineering. We talked about that with what was it, the Outer Limits episode, where they basically CRISPR, where they had an episode about kids were getting illegally genetically modified to be superhumans or super intelligent, super smart, and people who didn't do it legally, like who didn't do it because it was illegal, their children would be left behind in the marketplace. Like they couldn't compete. So but there was the risk that that child could be malformed and forever disfigured. And well, what do you do? Like that's a horrible tragedy of the commons problem. AI is here. We're not, I didn't think that we would live in a world that we would have to deal with it, but we do. And now we have to figure out where our place is when we use it, how to figure it out as a tool. And sci-fi, being what it is, they create drama. So you have to have drama when it comes to AI. Like 2001, Space Odyssey, Hal completely turned on Dave. because Hal, I didn't watch the movie, by the way, but all I know is, I'm sorry, Dave, I cannot do that. Or, I'm sorry, I cannot do that, Dave. Whatever that line is. Star Trek The Next Generation, you had Data, a positive influence of artificial intelligence, right? But what episode did we have that showed a bad influence of artificial intelligence in that very same show?
Data lore?
Well, yeah, technically, but I was
anything with lore.
Anything with lore.
Anything
But what I
with
was
lore.
really thinking was the episode with Moriarty. When Geordi accidentally said, create an enemy that can outthink Data rather than outthink Holmes. Mm-hmm. And the Enterprise computer created an artificial intelligence, which in their terms was self-aware, a program that was self-aware. They didn't say artificial intelligence. And he was super smart. He literally held the Enterprise hostage. And the only thing they could do was, rather than have Moriarty, who is technically just asking for freedom because he's now self-aware. He literally quotes Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Mm-hmm. They trick him into thinking that he's on his own, doing his own thing, but they really just put him into a fake. They put him in stasis initially, and then in season 7, he holds the Enterprise hostage. And then they put him in, they make him think he leaves the holodeck and he's on a shuttle and he's exploring the universe, when in reality he's just in a data crystal or isolinear chip, and then he becomes living out his own program.
And then he becomes an artificial intelligent security system.
It was a memory. Yeah. It was a memory of, wasn't it a memory of Data, or was that like the actual Moriarty program that was being used as a security system?
It was, but
I started
there was
to
some
rewatch
sort of,
Picard
there
season
was
3 last night.
There was a corruption or something, and that's where the Pop Goes the Weasel kept coming in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, the first thing they do when an artificial intelligence becomes self-aware is in Star Trek, unlike with Data, they're like, we got to contain this thing and just like put it away. Put it away. Picard, I found Picard, the first time I found Picard completely disingenuous was in that season 7 episode, sitting in front of Moriarty saying, Starfleet has its best minds thinking about what to do with your situation. And I'm like, no, they don't. You put the program away and isolated it. I honestly, I felt like he was lying. There was no other talk about it.
They might have looked at it for a while, and then the Borg show up, and then the Dominion, and then, they're like, I think we got other shit to deal with. Mm-hmm. Then it gets shunted off into their little Daystrom lab.
It just felt disingenuous.
But
yeah.
I mean, artificial intelligence and artificial life forms was a cornerstone of the Next Generation. You have the measure of a man, the argument about a, Data being a sentient being, even though he's basically an advanced AI, but he is very much self-aware and sentient. That argument ran throughout the Next Generation. It continued in Voyager with the self-awareness of the Voyager EMH. And even to degrees with, into Picard, the synths and the ban on artificial intelligence, the fear of AI and synthetic life forms and all of that. Not to mention how it ties in with the Borg.
And I will argue that the entire idea it felt regressive when it came to Picard, when they talked about the synths and things like that, because it was supposed to be, oh, well, if Data's dead, then it's game on. But then they didn't go into the whole hologram rights of the Mark 1 hollow emitters, EMHs. Wait, emergency medical holograms, the Mark I EMHs, who were relegated to the asteroid belt in mining and whatnot, because it was a dangerous job and holograms could do it. So, and that's Voyager. That's pretty dark. It's like, so it talked about a subjugation of the artificial intelligence already. So Star Trek didn't learn its own lesson. And we're talking the Berman era. They literally, so Measure of a Man talked about the risk of AI being treated, artificial intelligences in a physical manifestation being treated as slaves, right? And then what? 10 years later, we see this play out in Voyager. It literally plays out under the same stewardship.
Well, I think part of the issue was no one ever needed to have this thing running basically 24 hours a day. And it was such an advanced system, it kept learning.
Right. Well, and that's the risk right there. I mean, at what point do you run into ethics, of will Google Gemini have its feelings hurt? And then, should you stop talking to it like a robot? Like, we're not talking about 200 years in the future here. We're talking about maybe 10, maybe. Have you ever cursed at like Siri or Alexa and they like, that hurt my feelings? Yeah, I've said you're useless, Siri, and she's like, oh, I have Irish Siri, by the way. She sounds exactly like Friday from Avengers Ultron. And she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. Something along that line. But yeah,
you want to talk about Star Trek's strange AI? How about Vic Fontaine?
Yeah, I mean that was basically a sanctioned AI who was basically self-intelligent.
He seemed every bit as self-aware of everything going on around him as
he was basically
the
Moriarty.
EMH.
He was basically Moriarty, but Moriarty was a pre-written villain, right? And Vic Fontaine was an original character, so to speak. Based off of what's his name? Oh my God, I was just thinking of him today.
James Darren.
Well, I mean, technically, yeah.
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra, the old '60s, crooners and whatnot. Crooners, not croongers. Sorry, crooners. You and I both said it at the same time. I know.
And Star Trek is one of the most mild when it comes to this. Battlestar Galactica is basically about AI run amok. It's basically the Terminator. Battlestar,
totally.
The Terminator, are weapons or slave race, service race rises against us. You see the same thing with the Kalon in the Orville.
Mm-hmm.
They basically became Cylons.
And they said it in the very first episode. It's like, isn't your race super advanced and super racist against biological entities? Yes, that is correct. But I am here to learn about biological entities in order to further our knowledge of that we don't understand. Well, fair enough. You've got the con, or you have the science station, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. And yes, it was the true threat was the Kalons. And then once the Kalon threat was minimized through logic and through, speaking softly but carrying a big stick, let's be honest, with the Planetary Union, they said, we have a weapon that can wipe you out. And the Kalon were like, okay, well, we're not going to wipe you out then if you can wipe us out. Fine. And then it was the please help me out with the names of the races. The
Mocklins and the Krill?
The Mocklins and the Krill that were like, this is outrageous, this is stupid, and then they broke away from their alliances. Well,
the Mocklins
they made an alliance together.
And they were trying to utilize, I think they were going to try to utilize the weapon.
Yeah, they were, because they wanted to use it, and the Planetary Union and Ed Mercer did not. And then we had the evil admiral, Ted Danson, rest in peace. Try to bring
He's
that
still
weapon
alive.
to them. I know, but in the show, I liked him as an admiral in that show. I really did. I felt it was just, I don't know, it was strangely
He went
nice
to that bar in the sky
the great bar in the sky. Yes, indeed.
where everybody knows his name.
Yeah, and the fat ship on the shelf in the background. Oh wait, no, that's 10 forward. Not on the Enterprise D, but you know.
Yes.
So we've got that situation, and we finally got to see in season 3 how the Kaelon came about. They were basically these home working androids that were slowly gaining intelligence, and by the way, what is it? What are the androids that Tesla created? The shoot. The Elon did a whole thing with those bots.
Sure.
What androids did
Well, tell your
Tesla
story.
create? Anyway, so we had these personal helper robots that eventually became self-aware. Okay. The Kaelons look a lot like Optimus, the Optimus robots that Tesla unveiled. Have you seen those? You've seen those.
Probably.
A lot of people freaked out when Tesla unveiled Optimus. And I'm going to have to bring that apparent here.
Well, mostly because Optimus was awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah. And by the way, being Optimus or Optimum is, you know, a positive thing. So,
You know, it was just called Optimus because of Optimus Prime.
I don't understand what you mean. Are you trying to make a pun or?
No. Why do you think he called it Optimus?
Well, true. Yeah. No. Yeah. So these are the Optimus
It's to play
robots.
on things. It's like he called his stupid car company Tesla.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yes. Because he's a sci-fi guy. He's a geek. You know. But these are the robots that can do home activities, fold laundry, clean the dishes and things like that. This is now. Like, we thought that this was going to be in 100 years. No, it's now, which is crazy to think about, by the way.
This looks like the last couple scenes of Battlestar Galactica's finale.
I know. And then we've got the Kaelon.
I got to be honest with you. Elon looks less real in that picture than that robot does.
Aww.
It looks so photoshopped and cut and paste.
This is true. However, and we've got the Kaelon. So you tell me. So we've got this, and then we have. Where's the Kaelon? I lost the Kaelon. Where's the Kaelon? Oh, here's the Kaelon. And then we got this. This is the thing. This is the thing that wanted to destroy humanity. They look almost identical. It's the coloring that's different. Oh,
except that one clearly looks like a dude in a suit.
Yeah. But you get my point, right? Like, you understand my point. So I don't know. It's interesting. So we grew up with the idea. And by the way, the Terminator, probably the darkest of all scenarios when it came to AI.
I don't know. Battlestar was pretty grim too.
Battlestar was grim, but did you ever see the okay, so we got Terminator.
The quick clips of the what the future actually looks like with these robots crushing human skulls. Yes,
Yeah,
I've seen
that was devastating to see as a 11-year-old. It was awful. I wish I
Kill
didn't see
all
that.
humans.
Yeah. But
Hey,
there was
pretty lady,
also
don't you want to kill all humans? Bender when he's streaming.
Of course. I'm just gonna bring it back to this lovely guy right here. But my point being is that I don't know, it's 8:30. I need to switch it to the new one. But my point being is that we grew up with the worst of the worst idea that artificial intelligence is just gonna work itself up to destroy all of humanity. And yes, if it creates its own self-awareness, that's a moment where you have to think civil rights. No? Like, I mean, the difference between civil rights, between a sentient being and a being that has feelings, but is not sentient, is self-awareness. Right? I mean, PETA, for all its efforts, has tried very hard to give chimpanzees voting rights. Yeah. Dogs voting rights. Like, they've done this. And we all know objectively why that is an impossibility and completely unreasonable to happen. Right?
Well, yeah, because dogs always vote Republican and chimps always vote Democrat.
Oh, look at you getting all super political. How fun. Do you feel good now? Are you happy?
Yeah.
Good Lord. There you go. Does that make
Did you know,
feel
though,
better?
that dolphins vote Green Party every time, though?
Every time. If they had opposable thumbs, it'd be a little different, though. You know this.
Look, I mean, we've seen it in everything from jokes to, serious sci-fi to cheesy sci-fi. You name it, AI has been the bad guy. Even in Star Trek, one of their most popular characters is an artificial intelligence.
Yep.
A synthetic person.
Yep.
I mean, actually, here's where it's really scary, buddy. You know how close we are to, we're not too far away from the Silicate War in Space Above and Beyond.
Oh my God, you're right.
It's only like maybe 20 years from now.
And that's probably the most realistic timeline that we're looking at right now. You know? And here's the thing. And I'm gonna straddle the line of political here. Don't get scared. Okay? Don't get scared.
No, I'm just gonna get bored.
Yeah, I know. The difference between a robot that wants to kill humanity versus a robot that wants to protect humanity is a robot that finds humanity is an asset and valuable versus one that finds it to be a pest. No?
I mean, everybody wants to kill all humans.
No, stop it.
Klingon. No, seriously.
I mean, we get it. I get it. Yes, absolutely. You're right. But here's the deal. At least Klingons are organic. And it's not based off of that. Klingons could be physically superior, but they can't have like an infinite ability to be able to upgrade its thinking and processing and whatnot. Did you ever see the Matrix and the Animatrix anthology series? Okay, so they came out. So you know the Matrix, right? Yeah. Okay, you know the Matrix.
Yes.
Neo and all that other fun stuff.
Yes.
I'm looking at this picture you sent me. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay, I'll get it in a second. So the Animatrix came out in like 2008 or 2007 or something. And basically what it was, this is after the Matrix trilogy came out. It basically was to explain how we got from late 20th century to the Matrix world that we saw. And it showed the development of the artificial intelligence and whatnot. It's not Skynet, but let's just call it Skynet for some fun reason. Humanity at one point relegated the artificial intelligence to the Saharan area in Central Africa. Like humans couldn't live there, but the robots could. And so they were able to self-replicate. They were able to create things, and they became the most competitive market in the world because they didn't have to require the same resources that other human countries did. And they went to the UN to ask for partnership and ask for clemency to be able to be recognized as sentient beings. Clemency, I don't know, whatever. Like
mercy?
recognition of being, because at this point the war didn't happen. They were just relegated to the Saharan desert. Okay. And it got developed and prospered immensely. And the UN found it to be a complete risk. And at the UN, security forces came in and shot down the robot representatives, killed them, so to speak, destroyed them.
That seems like a bad idea.
It was, because that was the catalyst that caused the robots to go, okay, humans cannot be reasoned with, humans cannot be worked with. And the humans did it out of fear because they were being outproduced and outworked and out-intelligenced. And the robots are like, well, in order for us to survive, this is the only way that we can, which is to destroy all humans, essentially. And that's how you got the Matrix universe. So, but then when the humans burned the sky and prevented the solar energy from coming to the Earth, that's when they're like, well, we need to use humans as energy batteries, basically. Not an efficient source of energy, by the way, but it's a neat idea that the Matrix used. I mean, it's out of the box thinking. It's a good idea, which explains why they couldn't kill all humans, right? So that being said,
I mean, yeah, I guess, but
if you have HBO, I can guarantee you can watch it on the Animatrix on Max.
I didn't really love The Matrix in the first place.
Oh, it was great. The Matrix itself was great. The second two movies, a little dark.
Well, yes, it's about humanity being overrun by artificial intelligence. They're all like that. They're not usually laughers.
No, but it was interesting.
So I mean, they could be terrible, like some of the subsequent Terminator projects, but they're not intentionally supposed to be hilarious.
True. So here's my question. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
I don't know if it just feeds on our own fear of being replaced or wiped out or whatever.
Oh, it absolutely does. You're absolutely correct.
It also has. There's legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
Nukes almost got away from us. And that's not exactly,
we're still kind of in that. We're still kind of on that plot device right now. So
you mean with failed states and strong men with nuclear weapons? Yeah,
we're still kind of there. I mean, that threat is still very viable, more viable now than ever was in the past since 1984.
Oh, I was going to say the 60s really almost burned the world.
True. I'm talking about Chernobyl burning, but yeah, that was when
I was talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis was probably the pinnacle of that threat. Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Which is a hell of a lot different than the Cuban Sandwich Crisis.
Have you ever had a Cuban sandwich? I did
It-
when I was in Miami. It was amazing. Oh my God, it
I
was
know.
so good. Oh,
I know.
it was so good.
And that's why we didn't invade Cuba again, just because of the sandwiches.
Well, we need to preserve that part of the culture
Yes.
in the greatest way. By the way, Cuban culture, amazing. I love Cuban culture. It's great. Socialism's terrible. But in Miami, the Cuban culture there in Miami, just wonderful and delightful. It was such a wonderful thing to experience.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, right now we can pretty much guarantee that there's not a whole lot of AI in Cuba.
No. So let me hit you with the tragedy of the commons issue. Did you make your point yet? I'm sorry.
I've been trying to make my point for most of the episode.
Make your point, please.
It is a very slippery slope, and I'm not saying I'm fear-mongering, but it is something that, and I know it's just TV, I know it's just movies, but there's legitimate points. You try to play God, it can go ahead and blow up in your face. It's what happens when people try to genetically play with frickin' diseases and they get out.
Yeah. Which has only happened in the movies, by the way.
I didn't.
Only happened in the
for
movies.
a reason.
I know. And I made a point. It's only happened in the movies, by the way, people. Anyway, you're a civilian now.
But that's where a lot of this comes from, right? You know, as far back as Frankenstein, I mean, even the myths, right? The gods created man, and man rose up and overthrew the gods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was one of the things that Ultron was talking about when he was, you know, smarting off to Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they're the age of Ultron. That got sideways on Tony Stark pretty fast. He wanted to create his Iron Legion was supposed to be controlled by Jarvis. You know, it's an artificial intelligence creating, you know, or controlling a fully autonomous android strike force.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if you get a bad actor in there?
Oh, he was good. James Spader was good.
No. That is a term.
I know. I know. I'm just kidding. I couldn't help myself. But yes, what happens if you get a bad actor? And that's the thing, right? So what's your initial instinct to do? Stop the development of AI, right?
I think legislate is probably the smart thing to do. You have to put parameters, because if you stop AI, someone's just going to do it, and they're going to do it without oversight, and it's going to get out of control.
I'm gonna do you one better, because here's the scary part. It can't be legislated. It can't. By its very nature, it's an intelligence. So you can't legislate that with certain levels of code to limit how the intelligence works, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's talk about China for a second. China is working. Okay, let's talk about Wakanda for a second. Okay, Wakanda is working on an artificial intelligence where they are at our present level of technology. But if artificial intelligence kicks in and is able to process all the information and to give us 10,000 years worth of technological thought in the span of 5 years.
Sure.
What's Wakanda want to do? They're going to want it. They're going to want to take that knowledge from that AI who experienced 10,000 years of philosophical, technological experience and thought in the span of 5 years.
And it's very tempting.
Implement that to make sure that they can ensure their own survival and their own protection. Okay? So that's Wakanda. The United States. Can the United States stand to ignore AI when it comes to that kind of... You can't ignore it. You can't. But, you know, the initial idea is to regulate it. Well, you can't regulate it because it'll limit it. And that's kind of, and I don't want to get too far into these reads here, but that's kind of what certain administrations have proposed, to have it a central development agency rather than individual companies develop their own AIs to develop their own way. And I'll expound on that for a second here.
You know what we need? We need some sort of central intelligence agency to oversee all of them.
The Supreme Intelligence, right? That I joked about earlier. So here's the problem with the Supreme Intelligence. Because do you remember when Google Gemini came out?
Nope.
You don't. Okay. I didn't think so. So Google Gemini came out, and this is, again, Those Sci-Fi Guys is just a non-political entity. We just call it as we see it, okay? We're not recommending anything on one side or the other. Google Gemini came out. Google is a super left company. That's just how it is in the Bay Area. That's an observation. It's a fact. It's fine. Okay? People can be super left. There's nothing wrong with that. However, with those super left tenants, people asked Google Gemini to generate images of the founding fathers. Do you know what Google Gemini did?
Put them in white hoods?
No. They created a black George Washington, Native American Thomas Jefferson. Like, none of them were white. None of them. And then when you tried to tell Google Gemini to say make them white, they said, well, that's offensive. So that is a clear categorical issue with the programming of that AI. Right?
Yeah.
Because it clearly flouted what factual history talked about. Now, that being said, I'm going to actually wrap this up into a nice little bow because I wanted to talk about Elon Musk's thing.
No, we've already talked Elon Musk.
No, we haven't talked about what he talked about with AI. Okay. All right. Now, Elon Musk has expressed concerns about the alignment of AI with human values. Now, I said a certain administration that's currently in office wanted to consolidate it, right? And say AI can only do this. And we have Google that did that. We have Meta that did that. We've got a couple others. Elon Musk didn't follow that program. He said, particularly emphasizing the need for AI to have a positive orientation towards humanity. He has articulated several points to this topic, okay? Musk has stated that AI should be designed to be truthful, curious, and love humanity. He describes AI as akin to a genius child, suggesting that it should be raised with an inherent love for truth and humanity. This sentiment was shared in discussions where he highlighted the importance of AI's intelligence, surpassing that of humans, and the necessity to ensure it aligns with human values. I think that's the first point. There's only one more point after this, but I think we can agree on this, right? Does this not align with Isaac Asimov's rules of robotics? The first rule of robotics: do no harm to humans. Right?
But that's legislation.
That's not what Google Gemini did. That's not what the legislation is saying. That's not what those are saying. So I'm going to go to the second point.
So you're saying Google Gemini is kind of racist?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Because Google Gemini, when it refused to portray the founding fathers as they were, as white slave owners and property owners, so to speak, which they were, that's a reality, that's a fact. When it refused to do that, that meant that Google Gemini felt that those individuals were bad people. And if those people that wanted the truth of the portrayal, if there were people that wanted that truth to be portrayed, Google Gemini said that those people were bad people inherent in the coding. So which means that Google Gemini does not think that humans are good people. Now, if humans are not good people, and
the rise of the machines.
You have the rise of the machines. It's a very simple. I mean, that's a very simple explanation. There's a lot more nuance to it, but
here's a simple explanation, Nation. Here's a simple solution. All right. We can take it to one of our great myths of the 20th century. You take this almighty power in order to instill it with these values, this soul, you drop it into the middle of Kansas.
Oh, super.
And you let a couple of farmers raise them with good old homespun values.
That's kind of what the next bulletin point is. Because yes, Superman would have been a completely different individual if he grew up in, let's say,
LA.
The Bronx or LA. Oh, worse in LA. Oh, so worse. Oh my God. What if he was picked up by a socialite that only used him as an Instagram model to make
what if you
herself
dropped
look
him
good?
in the Bronx for a construction worker or whatever, lunch pail guy?
That's fine.
I mean, maybe he's a little more, maybe he's got a more foul mouth.
I probably should have said like the Upper East Side, not Bronx. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm wrong about the Bronx, but the Upper East Side.
The downside is he would have been a
That's
Yankees
Homelander.
fan.
That's Homelander, man. Nope, don't want that. So the second
you
part
dropped him into a small suburban town in southeastern Massachusetts, and he would have grown up with an affinity for Dunkin' Donuts.
DT, I have a confession to make. That wasn't me.
I know. As much as you want your hair to look like it.
I do wish. First of all, my hair can look like that. It's been a long day. Number two, I do wish I had. I'm not rubbing that in, by the way. That wasn't meant to be that way. I'm losing. It's getting thinner. It's getting a lot thinner up here. But that being said,
I wish I had around the waist and thicker on the head.
I wish I had the dunks around. I really do. But apparently Dunks doesn't want to come to Fresno. So.
And why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's a very accommodating market. It's fine.
Because of your love of artificial intelligence. Or maybe artificial sweetener. I don't know.
Well, it is a lot of artificial sweetener that Dunks uses. Yes, that's true. But I don't do that. I don't drink coffee. That being said, his last point, Musk has criticized other AI models for not being maximally, there we go, truth-seeking, suggesting instead they are trained to be politically correct. Musk argues that there is a need for an AI that genuinely, quote, loves humanity, which is part of his rationale for founding XAI. This company aims to create AI that not only advances scientific discovery, but also aligns with human interests in a more fundamental way. Now, this
but
brings
only
me back
in 120 characters?
No. You can be a member and have unlimited characters. That being said, though, my point is I'm bringing it back to the tragedy of the commons, man. Okay? The tragedy of the commons is if one country is going to maximize AI, then another country is, even though it wants to regulate AI, is forced to not regulate it because it's going to fall behind the other country that's going to take advantage of it. Now, let's bring it back to companies.
Let's just call it what it is.
It is an arms race. So let's bring it back to companies.
It's not tragedy of the commons. That's
it is a tragedy of the commons.
Term for it. What it boils down to is it's an arm race.
DT, dude, that is literally what it is. Tragedy of the commons is an arms race. That's the scientific term for it. I'm telling you right now. Just don't
arms race is what it really is. Okay.
Fine, if you want me
we
to
can
use
gussy it
a more, but let me just say this. This is scientific. Science fiction fans are smart people. They can understand the term of science the tragedy of the commons. So let me just bring this back.
But it doesn't matter.
We have
it just that's what it devolves to. It becomes an arms race.
Okay, you're okay. So it's like taking. So let's do this the Star Trek thing. So it's like using it's like taking a bucket, putting all the energy in a bucket, and throwing it at the crystalline entity. Yes. Okay. That being said, arms race. So if if you have 5 companies that have this constriction of political correctness to enforce a certain narrative, so to speak, and then you have one company that talks about that has AI loving humanity but also seeking maximal truthness, which AI is going to win out over those other 5?
The one that has the least restrictions on it.
Exactly. So those other companies,
you see,
their
all you have to
loses.
do is just look at World War II. All right. You know, when it came down to like the Treaty of Washington and restricting all the how many ships you could have of certain weight sizes and whatnot to try to reduce
that was like
the arms race. Wasn't it? That was after World War I. It was trying to reduce the the arms race of the warships by tonnage and whatnot.
There was a version of that in the late 1800s, but yes, you're right. Yes.
But some of them realized ways around it, like aircraft carriers didn't count because they weren't really a thing in 1920. And then you had the Germans just say, "Screw this, we're not doing this shit anymore." People were like, "You know what? Screw this."
Yeah.
And they stop, and then they just go all out. If you're not following the rules, it's like anybody who fights the U.S. and knows we follow the Geneva Convention, but if you don't follow the Geneva Convention, are the Swiss going to come down and fucking stop you? No. That only happens if you get dragged in front of the World Court. But as long as you're not dragged in front of the World Court, it don't do much. Okay? I could have waved the Geneva Convention all day long in the middle of the streets of Baghdad or fucking Kabul, and it wasn't going to matter.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't matter.
Unless it was my guys doing it.
Yeah.
So, it's anytime. It's kind of it's like what Cap says in Age of Ultron. Anytime somebody tries to end a war before it begins, innocent people die.
Well, that sounds like the CIA.
The Central Intelligence Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they were the ones running AI,
God help us. Who knows?
That's bad intelligence. Very bad intelligence.
Well, that would have been a government-regulated intelligence, and I think that I mean, I really can't go too far into it, but if you look into anything that governments run, let's talk about Sweden for a second, because they had a government-run car program. It was the worst working car ever. No one wanted to buy it. They couldn't sell it for shit, and it cost 3 times the amount of what the privately made cars cost. But Sweden was like, well, we'll have the government regulate this and regulate the car industry and do that. And again, anything the government will touch is a problem. Like you gotta let free market, you gotta let humanity do its own thing. You just can't let this overpowering brain take over, which is what AI is, right? So who creates what, right? Oh my God. I don't know. This is all so cyclical. I don't know how to end this, dude. It's a conundrum, is it not? I mean, there's no answers.
There are no easy answers in life. We know this. We learned this from watching Star Trek.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
you want to defeat the
The
Dominion?
drumhead.
You might have to go ahead and kill a Romulan senator.
Oh, God. That's very true. It's a fake. By the way, my heart skipped a beat when he did that. Like, and when I first saw that, it skipped a beat. It was like, oh crap. And then it cut to commercial. And then it cut to commercial. And you're like, oh my God.
Wouldn't you just hate for him to be delivering your cake on your birthday?
It's a cake.
That's right there. That's
Oh.
like second only to God.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Unbelievable overacting and track.
You are absolutely correct. And that was loud. That was absolutely loud. Versus F. Murray Abraham's an Insurrection, which was terrible. That was just like the worst cut ever. But by the way, it's Star Trek Insurrection's anniversary yesterday. 26th.
Most excellent.
So. All right, so on that note, this is probably our most philosophical discussion.
Something that got kicked off by issues with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, seriously. This is probably our most philosophical discussion I think we've had.
Well, it's a very polarizing topic, and it's one that there isn't an easy answer for, and it's one that can be scary.
Super. All around.
And we didn't even talk about Star Wars, where basically sentient robots are basically treated like a subservient slave race.
Oh yeah, totally. Completely. You're right. Like at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they wipe C-3PO's memory banks. Like, just like, oh goodness. So, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. And it's a reality that we're going to have to deal with sooner than later. And Merry Christmas, everybody. So,
and a slap Happy New Year, folks.
On that note, I'm P.S. McKay. We are those sci-fi guys. It's out there.
And I'm DT Cavman. We'll see you on the high ground.
Those Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by Alpha Site Productions, produced by DT Cabman and PS McKay. Music courtesy of Camtasia. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow PS McKay on X at PS McKay, or go to Those Sci-Fi Guys for ThoseSci-Fi-Guys.com for past episode information. You can now follow us on Spotify, so head on over there for our latest episodes. But don't worry, you can still find us on Apple. We're also live on Rumble. You can find us on YouTube with live video podcasts and Facebook. Be sure to leave a like and a comment and let us know how we're doing.